You're listening to the Served Up Show, a podcast that features inspiring beverage professionals and topic experts that share their passions through meaningful content. Your hostesses, Bridget Albert, is best known as the Market Fresh Mixologist, an industry mentor with over 25 years of experience. And I'm Julie Milroy, best known for my passion for leading change and helping others grow in their careers. Grab a cocktail and sit back. Let's learn how we can make a positive impact in our industry.
Hey y'all, it's Bridget here. I caught up with Lynnette Marrero, co-founder of SpeedRack, MasterClass host, and award-winning bartender, liquid creative director of Aplós, partner and chief mixologist of Delola, a line of ready-to-enjoy, world-class crafted spritzers she created in partnership with Jennifer Lopez. Lynnette shares the story of Delola and what's it like to create a refreshing, ready-to-serve. As we're getting closer to Tales of the Cocktail, she also shares insights on the SpeedRack National Finals that will be held in New Orleans during Tales of the Cocktail. So grab yourself your favorite flavor of Delola and enjoy this really fun show. Lynnette, welcome back to Served Up. I'm so excited that you came back on the show.
I love it. I'm so excited to be here, catching up with you in the dog days of beginning of summer.
Yes. Well, I know you've been doing so much and just traveling a lot with your new product that's out there, your collab that you did with J-Lo, Delola, and want to hear all about that. But, let's kind of start from the beginning. Can you give us an overview of Delola and really what inspired you to create this new product?
Absolutely. I mean, so, kind of how we met through cocktails is pretty much where it all starts. During the pandemic, I had a really great opportunity because I did the first MasterClass.com masterclass for cocktails with my good friend Ryan Chetty from London. And that just kind of opened me up to a whole bunch of new consumers. And I think for us, it's kind of that a little bit of that break. I think all of us have been looking for where the cocktail folks are finally let out into the wild and people were realizing that they could make drinks, and want to get on that side. So I think during that period of time was a lot of opportunity. I think what we saw was this RTD trend, mostly because bars were batching drinks and people realized they really missed quality cocktails at home. So I, became a huge lifeline to a lot of my friends and their bars to be able to batch up their cocktails and sell them online. I know Chicago, where you're based, had a big issue with that, and it was different all over the place. But that did inspire some great growth in this category of people realizing that there is a market for people to want to have delicious craft beverages in bottles. So, our good friend, Charles Jolie, who has Craft House, I think he was really early on of doing really great traditional cocktails in bottles. And then you saw some more seltzers and sodas and things that are more, I call those craft cocktail adjacent products out there. But we had that growth in the category. So kind of fast forward to, I'm still working on premise. I'm still helping bar programs, and, doing the masterclass. And I, in 2021, was voted the Bartender's Bartend for World's 50 Best. And that was kind of a big moment just to kind of realize that the advocacy and things I was doing were resonating on a much bigger scale. And that's where Jennifer and team found me. So I had been working with Ken Austin and Jenna Fagnan actually throughout the pandemic. I picked up some work for them. They needed someone who was good on camera to, do some Terramana appearances through the computer or live in studio. So I was doing some of those for them, getting out there on news shows and outlets. So I think that just kind of showcased a bit of, kind of all the things you need for starting a brand, right? You have to be your brand ambassador who can talk to the product and present in many different scenarios. You just never know what's going to happen. I know you've done it in the past, so it's a very different skill set from bartenders, but I think we all translate it, right? So selling a drink to a guest at your bar, but it's at a bigger scale. So Jennifer and team reached out to me around October-ish, 2021, and said that, they wanted to do something very disruptive in this space and do large format, craft, ready to enjoy cocktails that we would have in 750 mLs in glass and 375s, and that we would launch this product. And the idea was that, Jennifer, loves summering in Italy and Capri. And she wanted to have those kind of beverages that she enjoys there. Beautiful Italian soda inspired that lead to the spritz life. And they came to me to say, what does that mean to you? How do you feel? Where does that come from? How do you translate that? So, I worked with some kind of like everyone's greatest dealer's choice. This is the greatest dealer's choice. What do you like? What you don't like? Did some research, asked some questions, and then started working on, some iterations of what is now Delola's. We, like everything, you start with 5. We curated the 3 best to where we thought they were going to resonate best, what flavors were working. And I worked with Jennifer to just kind of tweak and touch and build those drinks. So it was quite an exciting place to go. But I think everything I've done in my past led up to this moment, right? To be able to articulate what kind of flavors, what levers to pull when you're doing that. And I think all of us know when then all this is large scale batching at the end of the day. We've all done it when we've had to do a keg or do a party. You're like, wait a minute, it's not exactly that half ounce. You have to multiply in a different way. So I think all of that came together to launch Delola into the world. So,
that's the biggest batch math ever. That's what that is.
And carbonation. It's a whole nother batch math.
Oh my God. Some of our listeners might be new to the industry or not even in the industry, right? So can you explain the difference between an RTD and an RTS?
Yeah. So ready to enjoys or ready to serve. Typically what we're asking is that you open that bottle and you're pouring it over ice and garnishing. The RTDs are usually smaller. They're in a can. They're predominantly meant to open up and just drink it from that format. We really felt that the experience of the RTS or the RTE, as we like to say, is about that elevated experience, right? You want to have it and enjoy it in the setting and put a pretty garnish. So it really is an elevated occasion. And I think that's what kind of makes it different, right? A drink is a drink, but a cocktail is something else. Cocktail has a little garnish and you're putting the little effort in. So we want to minimize the steps that you have to take to have something beautiful. So they're brightly colored, they're fully flavored. So, if you don't have the garnish at home, they're still delicious, but we still love to say, hey, just if you have it, pour it over ice and enjoy it in a nice glass, even if you just want to feel fancy.
I've tried all 3 and I really enjoy them all. They've actually become quite a staple here at home. On the weekends, I always say I don't enjoy making cocktails all the time for family and friends every single Saturday and Sunday, if that's what they'd like. And so having Delola here has really been just a joy for the summer because everybody has something to pick from, right? If you love tequila, if you like vodka, depending on where your palate wants to take you, there's something there. So with that said, can you tell us what sets Delola apart from some of the other similar products that are on the market?
I think we kind of strongly came in, to your point, with 3 different viewpoints, right? So, I don't get offended if someone's like, oh, I don't know, Bella Berry's not my thing, or yeah, I know I really gravitate towards L'Orange because they're actually meant to have different occasions. So everyone's palate's going to be different. I think what I wanted, it's like any cocktail menu, right? So what I wanted to make sure that we put out was 3 distinct styles. I think what's also interesting is that they're pretty, other than the Paloma Rosa, which is based obviously on the classic Paloma, L'Orange and Bella Berry are very unique takes on different styles of drinks. So I think Bella Berry, actually, you really wouldn't say it necessarily a classic drink that it follows. It follows quite like it's kind of a mash of several different styles of cocktails that I've used over the past in restaurant bars, because I do feel like it's more food friendly in that way. And then L'Orange is a completely different take on a traditional Italian spritz, but bringing in Amaro classically, obviously some notes of bitterness, but we went really bright with the orange and passion fruit. So I think we really went with bold flavors, that an idea of something that they're a little more culinary and when you look at the ingredients as well. So, and that's great. Jennifer loves to cook when she has time. I love to cook. And I think, it's the idea when you read different herbs and different spices and things, how those can really transform a simple cocktail. So I think we really went further into that realm, which I appreciate.
Yeah, I appreciate that as well. And it does translate right into that glass bottle for sure. Because they're not basic. They're not just so simple.
Right.
They have just a very slight edge, but just enough to make them refreshing and to where you actually want to keep going back, which I think is important with any cocktail that you design and develop, right? Just so
100%. Cool. And I think learning in restaurant bars was a huge journey, like spending, obviously I started in classic cocktail bars, but I spent the bulk of my time in restaurant bars where you're just constantly seeing what the kitchen's bringing in, what's like, you have more of awareness of what's fresh. When I was in cocktail bars, we didn't quite follow the seasonal chart as much as you do in a restaurant where, they kind of go through all the seasons, right? There's half seasons in between where you're like, okay, I can't get this herb anymore. Fresh now, we're going dried. So it taught me a lot about flavor building. And I really wanted to bring that, I bring that to all the cocktails I like to make, but I really was excited to bring that to something that is readily available. I always say that Delola was created for someone like my sister Antoinette, because she's the one who's like, wants to have a drink when she comes home from work, but she's sitting with her dog, Abby, kicking her feet up. And she's asked me before, I've given her bottles, be like, hey, I have this extra bottle. Do you want it? And then she'd be like, hey, what's that one thing I can buy to put it with? And I'd be like, well, there's not really one thing for you to put it with. Here's a couple things. She's like, no. Am I going to have to do something that sounds like way too much work? But I have to figure out
we related. Our family members are an awful lot alike.
It's very possible.
Exists. Jeez Louise. Can you share some success stories or like example of how Delola has really positively impacted your life?
Well, I mean, it's it's incredible. I mean, it's given me so much opportunity to really, spend time and energy and effort into growing a business and learning that skill set. I think, as bartenders and hospitality workers, I think we're always kind of looking for that next step. And I think everyone traditionally, if you don't get into full-time brand work or, working with distributors or other places, you're tasked on the only other pathway is owning your own bar. And there's so many other pathways and to business ownership, so I felt, that this is, having this opportunity and being able to craft this product and become a partner, as well as a chief mixologist, was giving me an opportunity to really participate in a business sense, and grow with the company and learn what it means to, do a startup. This is a startup, and we've all done it. Like SpeedRack definitely was a startup. And I've been growing that baby for years, but it's really great to see, I would have never learned all the things about, product packaging, everyone learned about timelines for all these different things, getting bottles and, you think it's even just going to the point of translating the cocktails into their format now and having to taste through so many different, versions and different ingredients, because we wanted to make sure we had only the best, natural ingredients to put into it. So that can vary wildly out in the market. So you have to do so much work. And it's been really exciting to learn that. And then obviously learn marketing from people like Jenna Fagnan, who's, a brilliant mind, and had just having women in these higher places in the spirits industry to be able to teach me some of their tips and tricks is really invaluable. And then obviously Jennifer, the mega businesswoman who, I've looked up to my whole life, being Puerto Rican as well. And we're both New Rican and just seeing how she's really, used her platform to really do some wonderful things for, setting up some different financial funds that are helping women own businesses and just seeing how those things can be organized. So that's been huge for me. So, now I can take all the consulting projects I want to take to do beverage programs are things that I take because I want to be involved with them and because I love really doing that. But I'm being able to fully participate in this business, and that's pretty exciting.
It's amazing. It's incredible, and I think what you just said right there too, Lynnette, representation matters, right? The folks that we look up to and hope to become like someday, or at least hoping that they carve some sort of a path out for us. I think that you just said something that just really, really will stand out to a lot of listeners. It's just amazing.
Yeah. And it's hard to learn everything. I think oftentimes we joke in this industry, we're like, where's the the business for bartenders class. It would be really used.
Where is it? I don't know.
We need it because it's, there's so many moments of business opportunities that come at us all the times. And it's really important when you're looking at opportunities presented to you to make sure that you are well represented and that, you're being taken care of for what you bring to the table. And I feel very appreciated in that way because it's hard, right? Sometimes we're like, well, I'm a bartender. I just have to take this, or, this is an opportunity being presented. Nothing else will come. But you know what? They do.
Yeah.
Sometimes a no in one place means a huge yes in another place. So I'm a proof that actually happens.
Well, I think that it's just a testament to your spirit as well. Cause I know, girl, you don't quit. You're always out there doing something. With that, can you share maybe some of the challenges that you did face during the development of the brand and really, how did you overcome that?
Yeah. I mean, other than like the logistics, which everyone was facing, at certain points, during the development of this process, it was impossible for us to get into a room together. So we're sending samples, Delta was right there it's like right in the middle. And then there was a lot of, once we, worked with our team that was going to be working with us on distribution, then there's a whole nother group of people who you're talking to. And so it was interesting to learn, then they're tasting the product and then we had to, communicate on how we scale up and their team was fantastic about that. But I learned all of that, right? It's like, to me, I'm like, okay, great. You just have a product. I gave a recipe. Now we figured it out. And then it's like, no, flying weekly to our co-packer to make sure that tasting, right? Like we all know that anyone who's done spirits tasting out there, or you've done your own batches. Again, if you're batching, you have to constantly taste the batches because things can just, marry differently when you're building them. So there was a lot of, checking in, especially as we were ramping up product to launch, as it was a lot to have to bottle and go. So I was flying in and tasting and using that palette that I have to be like, okay, here we go. Bella Berry's coming out. Is it consistent? Is it taste like the one we had? And then doing all that. And it's really great to see, like, that quality check is so important to us, to make sure that we're constantly checking in to make sure that because it's a living product at the end of the day. It's not, we just have it and we put it in every time it gets refilled. It's a whole nother, it's like when your barbecks and your bar team batch the batches, you're like, did you taste it? Because someone might have, missed it one day or just not paid attention or didn't do the order or operations the right way. And then it's like, oh, it's slightly this or slightly that. So
the batch itself, when we talk about batching cocktails, you're putting it maybe in a keg, like you said, sometimes maybe just in a pitcher. Can you talk about versus the size that you are doing, which is monstrous, and getting that right is unimaginable. I mean, my God.
Yeah. I mean, as bartenders, we're always taught where, there's so many different schools as we've all learned. I mean, we're all about to head to Tales of the Cocktail in a few weeks. And it's like, do you put the bitters in or do you not put the bitters in is the question, right? How long is that batch going to sit in, in 5-gallon buckets before it gets to the event where everyone's shaking. So every time you increase volume, you're thinking about how long something is going to stay, how long it will mix together. When you're thinking of, for us, for carbonation, how long is it going to carbonate for, to reach that peak so then it can bottle. So there were so many different, things to think about, that make it even harder. A spritz in a beautiful glass bottle is also harder but we didn't want to compromise on that. So I think, learning so much about that was pretty great. And then, it's just paying attention to, like I said, to, you're increasing, these tanks are pretty big, not as big as maybe some industrial tanks, but they're pretty big. And you're just constantly dealing with and they're, like I said, these aren't simple recipes. My recipes are not, they're not 3-ingredient drinks. They definitely are more detailed when you really get into the nuance of what's going on in here. So every time there's another ingredient, there's more room for error, but really excited because the team really did an excellent job and we are in a great groove and they were really open to feedback on how we do it because we were a very complex thing. So it's exciting to kind of work with people and they learn a little bit, we learn a little bit and we give back to each other. But when you're doing your large format cocktails, when you're batching, things you have to also remember is like fresh juice, is going to be complicated. So clarifying juice is a helpful tool for things like that. I followed all of when I was on premise and doing recipes on draft, I was doing a lot of some things like the citrus stock and things like that could help add some natural sour to a drink, but give it longevity in the restaurant. So even though your kegs are constantly, refrigerated, there's still you don't want to have that, the density of different ingredients. Like there's so many things, have them shake the kegs in the morning before like service starts. There's so much to it. So for anyone out there who, sees a bar program where they have done all their batching and things like that, they're still working really hard to make that happen.
Absolutely. That's why I wanted you to kind of lay it out there. Like you see something show up in this beautiful bottle, but you have to understand that there's an art and science behind it, right? 100%. There's a lot of thoughtfulness that went behind that. Can you maybe share some advice that you would give to inspiring entrepreneurs that are perhaps thinking about creating their own innovative product, whether it be a brand or something maybe even outside of our industry based on your experience?
Yeah. I mean, because I've also actually at this point, I also launched a non-alc brand where I'm the flavorist and liquid creative director for Aplós. I think with both experiences, what I learned is finding other people who share a vision, who are creative. My partners, David and Emily, over at Aplós, they both came from fashion world and PR and marketing. And the way sometimes they describe flavor is very whimsical. And it's, so it's beautiful because I know that they're trying to create a moment and a time and a lifestyle. So that's pretty fun because it does give you this artistic viewpoint, and it's not just, and that's great because then my job is very clear to be like, all right, I'm going to translate that into liquid form. So finding also partners that do the thing you don't do, know what you bring to the table and be very confident in it, but find those people who complete the rest of the puzzle, right? That's what partnership is about. It's about being able to share ideas, fill in, and support each other. And I think that's always been the people I've partnered with, whether it's someone I'm consulting with on a bar or restaurant, or starting events like Speed Rack or whatever, every partner I've had always has a different skill set than mine. So that way, when we get together, it's a power meets power. And I think that's really important when you're out there. If you're two people who are dreamers and not action takers, you're going to have a really hard time getting something off the ground. You can both be some partial dreamer, but you can't both be full dreamers. Someone has to be practical.
You are so right. You are absolutely right. I would love to shift the conversation because, recently you were at the Tony Awards.
Yes.
And I know I haven't seen you since then. And I know our listeners would love to hear about what that experience was like for you.
OMG. Let me just tell you, the Tony Awards was a dream come true. I was so thrilled. It was really cool. So we were at the Baccarat private suite. So they have had a partnership. They're beautiful glassware. I do some work with Zacapa Rum, and they had been working with them. So I designed cocktails to fit in their beautiful glassware. And I'm also a big glassware junkie. I unfortunately collect way too much, as I'm also starting to rebuild my prop closet now. But I love their glassware and was just so excited to work with something so delicate. And then you're coming up with whimsical and creative ideas, which that's always a challenge, right? Everyone wants something theatrical, especially for the Tony Awards, but you want to make sure it's practical because when we're talking about it, the after party is going to have at least 300 people, if not more. So building those drinks was great. The Tonys were, it was actually a full weekend. So Saturday night, I got to work with Coleman Domingo to celebrate all of the Black Tony nominees. And it was such a beautiful night of community to see, this group of folks just get together and celebrate each other. And, it was just so beautiful. They were singing as you would expect. There was beautiful speeches and spoken word. And then there was sitting down at a table and having food and drink together. And I think when we fulfill our hospitality cups, that's the thing that does it, right? It's not about the drink. It's not about the dish. It's about how all that comes together and the experiences and memories we can create. And every single person there was so wonderful. And they're like, thank you so much for the drinks you created. I'm like, are you kidding me? Thank you for everything you do for the arts. And then Sunday was the big awards where we did it for the first time up in Washington Heights at, the brand new theater up there. That's incredible. And it's this beautiful old building that's just been sitting there. And I believe Lin-Manuel Miranda is a part of some sort of rebirth of this venue. So the Tony Awards were there, and it was, our own private space. And there is actually where I connected with some people who I haven't seen in years. So full disclosure, my background was in musical theater. So
I was just going to ask you really quick, because I've heard you sing. So Lynnette can sing, not sing. Did you sing at the Tonys behind the scenes?
I tried not to. I tried not to. I was being very well behaved. But I did run into some people. Actually, one of the women who I did shows with, she's now a producer. And so it was so great to see her. She was a producer on Leopoldstadt. And, we just took a photo and we're like, oh my goodness, it's like almost 20 years later that we're seeing each other. It's like 18 or 19 years. But, we've seen each other, in passing over the years, but it was just reconnecting and seeing what she's doing. And she's, become such an incredible woman doing great things for the arts. So it was just a really beautiful time to just see people and the bartenders who I brought up with me. So I made sure to recruit some young talent to give them a moment. We're both really thrilled. Natasha Bermudez, I think she's wonderful. I've worked with her for years. She's now running the Llama programs that I left, and she's killing it. And Michael Redes, who's at Super Bueno. He's incredible in joy and light. And I just knew that there were people who would come in and just rock it out and be super professional and also love the arts. So it was just great to have, to be able to bring a team and, to your point, give them opportunities to be in those spaces. So that was pretty great.
No one more perfect to be there than you, for sure. Just knowing your theater background. And I heard you sing, and I was like, oh my gosh, she must be just loving it there, girl. Just loving it. I know.
I wish the legal team didn't kill all of my punny names, but they did.
Oh, well.
Those will be unpublished somewhere else on my own time when it's not, when legal teams are not involved.
Legal is always like the party pooper. So we know.
I know. I'm like, it's okay. We can call it a shucked corn and oil.
Yes.
Like that's not going to be a problem. Come on.
Oh my gosh. Well, let's talk about Speed Rack.
Yeah.
Because you have a very big event coming up in just a few weeks. I can't even believe it. I was asking you today, like, when do the tickets go on sale? I've been stalking the sites, and I almost texted you, but I'm like, she's so busy.
No.
Can we talk about that? Like, where is it going to be? What's happening? And what's next for Speed Rack?
So Speed Rack is going to be on Sunday, July 23rd. It is leading off the week of festivities at Tales of the Cocktail. Where, other than Volunteer Day, we're like the middle event of the day before, we all do our Ode to Bowl fun stuff. So we did it last year for the first time. And we're really excited because it's just a nice tone to set up the event with a beautiful, event that's about camaraderie. Last year, the event, because we kind of had a weird gap year due to the pandemic, we had some winners and then we needed to fill out a team. So what we called it last year was Speed Rack Redemption. And so we opened it up to anybody who had ever done a Speed Rack but didn't win the national title to apply. And we had people who had not done it since season 1 show up. And it was amazing. I was like, wow. And they would write down what it was that happened in their season where they didn't win, and it stuck with them, why they wanted redemption. It was, you could just see them like, there was that. I asked for this one glass, and I should have just gotten it, and I didn't, and they didn't have it. And they're like, and it ate them away for years. So then they did that. And so this year, luckily, we were able to run kind of a newer version of the season where we did a few less cities, but we were able to bring more competitors from other cities, from other markets by doing our online wildcard application. And that also bringing in some of the Speed Rack national winners. So last year, we kind of decided that we wanted to have coaches from the Speed Rack universe help the teams. So we call them houses, kind of like your legendary in ballroom, right? So we have our house mother, who is a Speed Rack champion, and she has her children who are the people that she is nurturing, her team. And it's really nice because they walk in as a full unit, and the whole idea is like everyone's going to have their skills, and you're kind of nurturing everybody's talent all at once. And it worked so well last year that we decided to do it again this year. And you're just watching everyone train together, share their ideas, how they're doing their drink cards. So for people out there, Speed Rack is a classic cocktail competition at its core. but with speed and accuracy. So it's very fast. It's like roller derby meets cocktail bartending. So there's a lot of skill in how they think about their order of operations or how they're going to build their drinks. So I've seen everything from them writing note cards with how they're going to build a cocktail. It's like, here's my daiquiri. And it's like their round goes and they're like, okay, we're going to pick up my line first. And it goes here, here. And the kind of graphs that they've made and color coded, it's fascinating. It has gone beyond where I think Ivy and I ever imagined it could, but it's to see like how it's organized. You know, these women have adapted it into an organization system for their everyday bartending that is just wild. And it's really beautiful to see.
And what's next for Speedrack?
Next, we are going to head into season 12. It was just announced on the publication alleys. We have a book coming out next spring, which is going to feature, it's going to be, we want it to be a cocktail book that has a lot of meaning, and it's going to highlight a lot of the women that have been in Speedrack over the years. Not everyone, because the book would be endless. But a lot of the women will be in there with recipes, and we're really excited for everyone to kind of, meet who they are and see how they build drinks and how they conceptualize what a cocktail can be, and doing that kind of in the moment creation for people. So we're really excited for that. That's gonna be a really good opportunity, and that'll be, the tour will go around the tour, but we're super excited for that to happen because it does give, all of these women a different platform from before. So it'll be many people it's their first recipe in a cocktail book. And, I know that's something that doesn't always happen for everyone. I'm sure you're asked a lot, Bridget. I've been asked many, many times, and it's nice to have an opportunity to give someone else an opportunity to put a recipe.
100%. Absolutely. And I think that's what we're here for, right? To mentor up the next generation of folks in hospitality.
Yep. And that's we can keep doing it. That's, like I said, even this year, there's so many first timers doing the comp. And I think that's exciting. It's like, I cannot wait to see how they interpret it. We have our most recent winner from Puerto Rico coming and competing. So that's really exciting to see, because they're, such a motivated hospitality industry in Puerto Rico. And it's just great to see them. Actually, last year's winner, she applied and got a spot. And so this year, Yancy will be joining us. So it's really cool to see that. And that's another just spread of cocktail culture across from different places, which is really, great for the teams.
Yeah. And if you haven't been to Speedrack, folks, what are you doing? You need to go. You need to look at the schedule.
They don't like a good time.
It's whether I'm, I've been lucky to judge it a few times, but I also just love attending it. Like, honest to God, like being on that side of it too. It's so much fun to cheer on the talent and to just be part of that energy and part of the spirit. And so if you're at Tales, make sure you get a ticket, don't
soon.
It's silly. You need to be there.
It is a popular ticket. And that's what's the best thing. Last year, it's sold out and folks were just really wanting to come in. So also know if it sells out and you still haven't gotten your ticket out there, we are trying to do a 1 in, 1 out policy if it gets oversold, and asking people to be like, are you leaving for the day? Okay, great. 3 more spots open up, and we're going to have a little bit of a party out front too. So, we got beverages and things for you. And we'll share live streaming opportunities if you aren't able to make it to Tales as well. We'll share where that's going to be streaming. So that way everyone has some access. So just keep an eye on our IG, which is at @speed_rack, or our website, and we'll make sure that that's on there for you. But yeah, it's going to be great. I mean, why not start, Speedrack starts my week of Tales, and it starts in the place of most love and friendship and mentorship and, watching a whole new generation just go for it. So
that's awesome. Absolutely awesome. Can you let our listeners know where they can find you on social channels?
Yes, I'm at Drinks at 6. So it's DRINKSAT, 6. So that's mostly where you can find me on that handle. You can obviously check us out at Delola on Instagram. So you'll see all the things, but everything's linked through mine. So you can find me too through there. And then Speedrack, like I said earlier, at speed_rack, or our website, speed-rack.com, and find out what's going on, keep up to date. And, it'll be a great, great time.
It will be. Lynnette, I want to thank you so much for coming back as a guest on Served Up. I hope you'll come back again. You are always doing exciting things. And I know that our listeners want to know what you're up to, as well as do I. And I also just want to wish you just some great health and a lot of peace. So thank you so much for being on Served Up.
Thank you so much, Bridget.
Thanks for listening. Served Up is brought to you by Southern Glazers Wine and Spirits. Produced by Zunu.online. Music by We Killed the Lion can be found on Spotify. Make sure to subscribe to be notified of future Served Up episodes. Cheers!